with introductions, starting with you, Penny, if you would.
I'm Penny Morrell. I'm an alternate on the planning board.
Rich Baker, also an alternate on the planning board. Nick Sicaro, a member of the planning board.
George Seal, I'm a member of the board.
Greg Alexander, member.
Hans Rasmussen, code enforcement officer.
And if we could have people in the audience, please introduce yourselves.
Douglas Frank, Golden Pond LLC.
Lee Richards.
Gordon Richards.
In case the recording didn't capture that, that's Mr. and Mrs. Richards. The just a housekeeping matter before we get into our first application. You'll see a handout that I provided that we'll discuss later, and it has to do with a draft. Some information we got from the town manager and Nick Poole on the budget, and also some draft numbers for us to discuss later on for our budget for next year that goes to town meeting in March. So with that, the first item of business is the shoreline zoning application of Jordan and Celine Richards. You may all recall this was tabled at the last meeting pending our submission of a letter with questions to the town attorney regarding a portion of the ordinance that get an interpretation on how to apply that or implement that. As well as the legality, what state statute says about the planning board's role, if any, with regard to accommodation of disabilities in the course of applying the shoreline zoning ordinance. We have not received a response. We've got an acknowledgement email back, and we also Phil Saucier, the town attorney, did send a couple of links to state statutes that apply to the question of how state law deals with in shoreline zoning, in zoning in general, and when a variance request is made for the purposes of accommodating a disability. But we don't have an answer to the basic questions. And I saw an email this afternoon that Phil Saucier is out of town, and he's getting back next Tuesday, so we should have something in time for the next meeting. There is a certain advantage, although it's a delay for the Richards, in that we'll have the legal questions answered before us. At the same time, we'll be reviewing the details of the application rather than doing it over two different meetings. So that might be more efficient and not cause so much confusion. So with that, I think the appropriate and only action we can take, unless others disagree, is for us to once again table the application until our November 4th meeting. Mr. and Mrs. Richards, is there anything you'd like to ask us? I apologize for this delay, but there's nothing we can do about it tonight, I'm afraid. And I apologize that you drove over here. I don't know if you drove all the way from Skowhegan or not, but
I can stop at camp and do a couple of things
Yeah.
anyway. I'm just kind of wondering, is there anything that we can do as far as what we submitted for the application to be more, to be prepared a little bit better, or should we meet with Hans or?
yeah, I don't think so, because I missed the first meeting where your application was actually discussed, although I've looked at listened to the tape, and with the exception of the issue that Rich raised, there wasn't a lot of actual review of the application and the details, and so we really need to do that first, and until I think we don't know the context of and how we're supposed to do that necessarily, like, with regard to, say, some of the dimensional requirements and things of that nature, until we really hear back from the attorney. So depending on how that goes, we may have some guidance for you. We'll see.
Okay.
So again, our apologies for the delay.
Thank you.
So if I could have a motion to table this application.
I'll make a motion. It's one of the things I don't really want to do because I'd like to move forward, but we can't really. But I make a motion that we table the application until our next planning board meeting. Pending a response from the attorney. I'll second that.
Okay, for motion and seconded, all in favor? Rich,
Yes.
Nick, yes. George, Sue, yes. And Penny, yes.
That'll be November 2nd. Okay.
Did I say November 4th?
You did.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
And as soon as I get a response, I will forward you a copy.
Thank you.
The last thing I want you to do is show up 2 days late.
That won't happen.
And I'm gonna, it'll probably go to Sarah and not me, but, I'm gonna send her an email, ask her or remind her, maybe Hans, you'll take care of this anyway, that you get a copy of that. So you have all that information in front of you, just like we do.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next application. This is old new business. This is Mr. Frames representing Catherine and Taylor Benzel.
Correct.
I got that right, huh? Surprised myself. There was a site visit that I was unable to attend. Sarah did a write-up of that site visit that she emailed us all. Did you see a copy of that?
Hans gave me a copy.
Okay,
Thank you.
um,
I'd just like to add that Taylor is with us remotely and Tom Brady.
oh, very good.
Yeah.
So just for the sake of our minutes, Tom Brady and
Taylor Benzel.
Taylor Benzel are online via Zoom, attending the meeting for this application. So this was tabled at the last meeting to accommodate the site visit. We appreciate the laser measurements that you were able to make, give us some, accurate information to base our decision on. The site visit itself, and I just want to read a couple of the highlighted parts, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the rest of you that did attend if there's anything you'd like to add and put on the public record. There was a snafu in that apparently there was the notice was never placed on the town website. This isn't legal advice, but I checked with my wife, who's a former municipal attorney before she retired. And since it was discussed in a public forum at the last meeting, there really isn't a major legal issue. It's not how we should operate all the time, but in all likelihood, we're covered, I guess, is the way to look at it. So the things I picked up from this was that the distance from the shoreline to the present structure was confirmed to be 72 feet based on the laser measurements. Those of you that attended had concluded that the structure is within 75 feet, and that the highest point of the present structure at the front of the was 26 feet 4 inches. And just as a reminder, the proposed height is basically the same. And at least that's what I highlighted from Sarah's notes. And Hans, do you have that? And that needs to go into the project file. Very good.
Everybody has a copy. You have one, good.
Yeah, I do. So with that, is there anything, those of you that attended, want to add that you observed or measurements you made or anything of that nature that Sarah may have overlooked?
Thank you, Todd. When did you do the laser measure?
Sarah had the laser.
Oh, Sarah had the laser.
Oh, Sarah did.
It was 81 feet.
Well, that was the
Tape.
hypotenuse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, of the
Yeah.
triangle.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but she shot that tree,
Okay, all right,
the one that you were measuring off of
Yeah.
the shoreline.
okay.
And that's kind of a measurement that's on the short side, because that tree was actually up
Right. It was
quite
on
a
the
bit from the
land.
high water mark, so we're well beyond it, but honestly, I don't think the distance from the shoreline changes anything, because we're going to what's existing,
Right,
yeah.
Right.
So, kind of a moot point in that regard.
Right.
Rich, did you?
I did, I showed up late, so I missed the first 10 or 15 minutes of the, site visit. But can I ask, this is what you're proposing, correct?
That is the.
That's today.
No, that's a new one.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And when you say you're gonna be, when we left, we agreed you're gonna be the same height.
26
or at least
four.
That's, I agreed or understood you. Was that height measured from here to there?
Correct,
It is.
Yep.
That's 26.
yeah, 26 4,
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody else? Is there anything you would like to add before I ask, board members if they have any additional questions?
No, it was very helpful having everyone go out there and see it, see the improvements that we're gonna make.
Yeah. Usually
I
is.
appreciate the help.
Any questions or comments from, board members
No.
on the application?
No. I'm set.
So let's see, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, so Penny, I guess you're up. You're,
Peter's here now.
well, except Craig has, is gonna recuse himself, I believe,
Oh,
because he wasn't in attendance.
Oh, okay, I wasn't either at the site, but I've been here for the,
Yeah, no, and that's fine as long as you read the notes that Sarah made
I
and
have,
obviously.
and she said right there that, we deem all, for all purposes, the structure to be within the 75 feet zone, and it looked all fine to her from what they, so I would vote, have we made the motion to?
No, what we'll do is, we need to go through the findings of fact and law first, and we'll be making motions and voting on them as we go. But the key fact, at least, from, for me, in terms of what was outstanding at the end of last meeting was the fact that the, proposed structure and the current structure are basically the same height.
Yeah.
With that, unless there's any objections, we'll move ahead with the findings of fact and thank you. I don't normally do this, it's may take a little extra. Oh, you fill out some of it for me. Aren't you a good guy? Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So this is the findings of fact and conclusions of law for the application of Taylor and Catherine Benzel. Oh, I should ask, does Mr. Brady or Ms. Benzel wish to say anything before we move on?
No, I think we're good. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you. It's all right.
At 225 Foster Point Road, the application consists of a proposal to demolish existing structure and install new foundation and structure on the same footprint. The application was presented on the planning board on October fifth, 12th, and a site visit was conducted on October 19th.
Site visit October 12th. Today's the 19th.
I'm sorry?
The site visit was on the 12th. Today's,
Oh, site visit, on the 12th, excuse me. Thank you, Hans. But somebody's paying attention. And today is the 19th. That wasn't a slam. It was directed at me, is what it was. So based on the application materials, testimony and the other documents submitted, the Belgrade Planning Board finds that the project is or is not a permitted use, and under the ordinance, it is definitely a permitted use in the sense that it's in the right zone. Okay, moving on, the board further makes the following conclusions based on applicable provisions of section 16B of the ordinance. First of these is will maintain a safe and healthful conditions by a vote of the board found the standard was or was not met. I would say was. Any?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
Right, George says yes too, so that's 5 to zip. And that is based on permit application.
there's a public submission from public record or something.
Yeah, right, other submittals and public record.
Sarah's got some initials for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do an acronym as well. I think I used too many words, so, maybe too many P's. Secondly, will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters by a vote of board found the standard was met. Penny, yes.
Yes.
Rich, yes.
Yes.
Nick, yes.
Yes.
Pete, yes. George, yes. And sorry, Habit. And Craig nods his head. So 5 to 0. And again, permit application, other submittals, and public record are the basis for that. Will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater by a vote of the board found the standard, was met based on, the same. Penny?
Yes.
Yes.
Rich, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Pete, yes. George, yes. 5 to 0. Will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat by a vote of the board found the standard was met. Penny?
Yes.
Rich, yes. Yes.
Nick, yes.
Yeah.
Pete, yes. George, yes. 5 to 0. Number 5, will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland waters by a vote of the board found the standard was met based on Penny,
Yes.
Yes.
Rich, yes.
Yes.
Nick, yes.
Yeah.
Pete, yes. George, yes, 5-0. Will protect archaeological, this is number 6, will protect archaeological and historic resources as designated in the comprehensive plan. By a vote of the board found this was met. Penny?
Yes.
Rich, yes.
Nick, yes.
Yes.
Pete, yes. George, yes. 5-0. Number 7, will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use. By a vote of the board found the standard was met.
If the floodplain's an issue at that lot, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, right. Everybody put their snorkels on.
Yes.
Rich, yes.
Nick, yes.
Yeah. Why can we call that not applicable? Yeah, could we? Yeah, technically.
Well,
But anyway,
it's in compliance with the floodplain ordinance.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so Pete, yes, and George, yes. So that's 5 in favor, none opposed. So number 8 is the one with a number of subparts to it. So we'll go through those individually, and rule out the ones that are not applicable. And then we'll vote on the whole array of standards. The first is, it is in conformance with the provisions of section 15 on the land use standards of the ordinance. By a vote of the board found that the standard was met on the evidence in the record and further as follows. A, minimum lot standards. That's probably applicable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Principal and accessory structures.
Yeah.
That would be applicable. Campgrounds, NA.
Yeah.
Individual private camp sites. Commercial and industrial uses. NA. Parking areas, there's no parking areas proposed, are there? Roads and driveways, no new ones are proposed.
No changes.
Signs, NA,
Yeah.
stormwater runoff, that's very
Yes.
much. Septic waste disposal systems,
That's.
New system
New
being
septic
developed.
being put in.
yeah, so that still applies. Essential services, that's NA, I believe. Mineral exploration and extraction,
And
no nickel out there, huh?
Yeah.
plenty of gravel.
Yeah. Agriculture, NA.
Yes.
Timber harvesting, land management roads, NA. Clearing or removal of vegetation for activities other than timber harvesting.
You say that's NA, you're not planning to remove trees or anything now.
Hazard trees, storm damaged trees, and dead tree removal.
NA.
Exemptions to clearing and vegetation removal requirements, that NA.
Yes.
Revegetation requirements, that must be NA. Erosion and sediment control, that's obviously, applicable. Shoreline stabilization, there's none of that proposed. That's an NA. Soils is applicable, since that's part of the, site evaluation for the septic system. Water quality, that certainly should be applicable. Historical and archaeological sites
NA.
and resource protection. So the applicable, land use standards are the ones that deal with minimum lot standards, principal and accessory structures. Stormwater runoff. Septic waste disposal systems. Soil erosion and sedimentation control, soils, and water quality. So, those in favor that, these land use, standards have been met? Penny,
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
George is yes too. So that's, 5 in favor, none opposed. This is probably old news for you, but, so we have the, our standard condition of, approval, that applies here, and given, that stormwaters, needs to be managed, and I'll read it to you, okay, and just as a refresher, manage stormwater runoff from newer expanded structures in accordance with section 15I of the Belgrade zoning ordinance and the Maine Department of Environmental Protection's best management practices as outlined in conservation practices for homeowners publication. Such measures are to be put in place prior to building use. You're probably well familiar with
Oh,
those.
yeah.
That's what I thought. So with that, based on the findings of fact and conclusion of this law on 10/19/3, the town of Belgrade Planning Board approved, the shoreline zone application. Taylor and Catherine Benzel with the above conditions on today's date. Develop these written findings of fact and conclusions of law. Just wait a minute here with the above conditions. So, I think, I'll entertain a motion, to approve this application.
So,
Any moves?
Yeah.
Rich seconds. All those in favor? Penny? Yes.
yes.
Rich, yes. Nick?
Yes.
Pete, yes. George, yes. So by a vote of 5 to, no, the, permit is approved.
George.
Thank you.
It says that, we should, in the permit, we should put a stipulation of that, are we there yet?
I'm sorry, Penny.
In the permit, we should put a stipulation, are we there yet?
Or we were just where,
Yeah.
what's the stipulation?
Condition.
That no frontal expansion up or forward be allowed.
And is that something you folks discussed on site or?
The plans represent that, so if we change the plans, we would be in violation of it, I mean.
Yeah, if the plans, show that already to be the case, they can't, they're not allowed to alter the plan without coming back to us for approval.
Should we put that in
Can we discuss that a little bit?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So look at the new, I never heard of this one before.
it was on the site plan,
What?
right up.
It was Darren's recommendation. We're, I think at the front porch there, we're at somewhere around 16 feet right now with the porch, and we're actually decreasing that because we're eliminating the covering on that porch. So it's actually a non-issue based on the way we're designing it. So we're terracing it with the slope of the land, so it fits in a lot better.
Okay, so I'm thinking, why is that necessary? That's what I'm gonna ask you. The applicant, why, I'm gonna ask the board, why do we have to put that in the first place? What if we leave it out? What's it gonna make, why is it gonna make a difference?
Well, I think the main concern was that it, can only be as high as it is now from the water.
But the whole thing is, okay, so what, yeah, so. It's all within, it's 25 feet back from the lake and it's back, how many feet from it's within 75 feet?
Yeah.
The whole building,
7 feet.
okay. So if they did stick on, extended that roof out over the porch, that's legal.
Yeah.
Right, and they wanted to, at a later
So
date.
Penny, first, I owe you an apology. I should have asked if there were any other conditions that people wanted to propose, you know,
No, no.
but so, I mean, the overarching, concept here is that an applicant only gets approval for what they apply for, nothing more, nothing less. So as long as, we have, and this is why I'm such a putz about site plans. As long as we have a good accurate site plan and profile drawings that shows like the height. And shows the location on the face of the earth where the construction will happen and where the structures are gonna be. Having a condition that specifies that, it becomes unnecessary. Because again, the applicant's only getting approval for what they apply for, nothing more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is important, sometimes there have been instances where we reached this point and, there's, let's say, the site plan isn't all that it should be necessarily, and so we need to specify it in a condition of a specific, project-specific condition of approval to nail it down so that it's clear to everybody and enforceable by the town if it should ever come to the worst-case scenario.
Gotcha.
So does that help? Okay,
So that's the very first time we've done this. This will be the very first time we've done this, but I know.
Done what?
We've done it before,
How
we
many times?
said that a condition that structure shall be no higher than the existing structure, just to
Right.
make sure.
yeah, but those were applications, weren't they, where they're not of this quality?
But as far as going forward like this, we never made a restriction like that, it's
I don't think
If they
we
are.
are, I think we're saying we're not going to,
Yeah,
it's not gonna be a condition.
right, so why even put this language in here in the first place?
And Sarah's the one that brought the issue up.
Well, that's not, well, anyways, I'm questioning it, that's why we were brought it up, I don't know, okay, we brought it up, I don't think we need to put it in there, period.
yeah, and
Or we're-
I think Penny agrees
Yeah. we're
at
not-
this point,
Oh, you are?
yeah,
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
yeah,
okay, all right, fine.
I
that's
think
just
Penny
one
only
comment.
brought it up for
Do
Sarah.
we have to vote on it?
yeah, no, Penny was just, yeah, no, that's right. Well,
You guys already voted on it, all you need to do is sign it.
thank you, Chris, maybe you should be sitting here.
But he had the opportunity.
Good.
And you don't hesitate to ask any questions as we go along,
Thank you.
I forget that this is,
Yeah, so it's third meeting, I think. And
even though we served on the planning board back in the early eighties.
it was Board of Appeals, wasn't it? Were you on the
Yeah, it
board?
was on the board.
Oh, you were,
I wasn't on the board, I was the secretary.
oh, that's right, that's
It
right.
was on Bob Martin.
Bob Martin, yeah, and I missed a meeting, and he called up and he said, "Are you coming?" And I was mortified, I was still home. And so I got there late and held up the whole thing, and I said to him, "This can't happen again." Well, it did happen again. I told him, "You know what, I really need to step down." And then we didn't have any deals for a long time, and when we did, he came back to me, he said, "You know, my secretary, I'm stepping down." And I said, "Okay." So I was back on, but it worked well. He really was sharp. He really was sharp.
Yeah.
So because of that, I kind of can follow what's going on here,
Yeah.
plus the training help. Yeah.
Yes, you're all set.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. I know
Thanks,
you guys
everyone. Thank you for your time. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
have- Take care, have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. Have a nice night, guys.
Yeah, you too.
No.
Okay. So the next application is,
She's not present, it's gonna be postponed,
oh, it's been postponed?
so we move on to,
Is that, because the applicant couldn't make it?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so we don't need to table it or anything.
It's just, we're gonna kick the can down the road to another meeting, because she couldn't get back to town in time to attend, so.
Okay, did everybody hear that? All right, so that's the Joy, I don't know how to,
Patriano,
application, will be, postponed so that the applicant can attend the meeting. So, so much for that.
And you cover that up.
Bring up
That
point that it,
I pulled them, no.
So, our next item of business is, approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
You want a copy?
What's that?
Did you want a copy of this application before you leave?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, he's just gonna give me an application of Joy's application before I leave.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So this is, do I have the right minutes? Both of them, the ones I have are say 9/21 on them, is that the date's wrong?
Yes, they came through.
Yes, it is. Okay,
If you look down, it says October 5.
yeah, okay, so, do people need a couple minutes to review them?
My name is spelled wrong, my last name. Has two
I
R's.
saw that.
You saw that?
like when I read it on that, yeah.
Two R's and two L's in Laurel.
Okay. Are we gonna do 9/21 soon, because we have them, or?
That's the same one.
Yeah, that's wrong, it's,
Well, we have both, but we've already approved 9/21, haven't we?
yeah, the meeting minute up in the heading there, it should really say 10/5.
No, but what I'm saying is we have both, we have 10/5 and we have 9/21. This is 10/5.
Yeah.
That's already been approved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one we got.
yeah.
Because you don't need to worry about this. Why'd you come anyway?
I don't know. Doesn't make sure there's quorum.
Well, it's a good thing somebody's watching. Everybody all set? Any errors or omissions or other than the meeting minutes in the heading need to be changed to 10/5/23, and Penny's last name needs to be spelled correctly with 2 L's.
On the back page, it was, it shows up, it's spelled in one end.
Chris, do you have anything?
No.
Nick?
No, I think it's all good.
Good, fine. Good, fine. I wanted to ask if, on the top of page 2, if this is correct, as written, the, under purpose of shoreline zone demo, this is the, permit we just approved. It says, starts off with the height of the existing structure is 25 feet 6 inches. I believe that's incorrect. I think it's the proposed structure that's 25 feet 6 inches. Isn't that correct? And then period, eliminate, and the new structure will be built at the same height.
And then. What do you say for?
Yeah, 26/4 is what's on the
Yeah,
paperwork you just signed.
yeah.
Okay, so 25 feet 4 inches.
26 feet for.
Points, oh, I see. Feet 4 inches. And then period, strike out and start a new sentence. That sounds acceptable. Other than that, I don't have anything. If there's nothing else, I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, Nick seconds that, motion was made by Rich. All those in favor, Penny?
Yes.
Yes. Rich, yes.
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 Pete, yes. George, yes. 5-0. Minutes are approved as amended. Hans, anything for us? Nope. No, really? No? Okay,
You
You
got
can
much
save
on
me
the
for
waiting
last,
list?
let's talk about the budget and I'll
yeah,
come up with something later if you like.
don't fret about it.
It's on the waiting list, just.
You do.
Do.
Next meeting will be hopefully the Richards and, the people that came and sat in the audience about the doggy daycare
Yep.
thing. They're gonna be presenting,
Okay,
their application will be presented, and Hammond Lumber is gonna move the dry kiln over to where they move the other stuff. So that application will be coming.
okay, so we'll be busy for a while. Very good. So, the next item, budget, and then I have one other, reminder for people that I just want to, mention. So the handout I gave you, the page that, starts off with the heading 2023 Belgrade, Maine Planning Board proposed budget. And it's page 22 and page 23. This is obviously a photocopy that Warner or Nick, made out of, the town budget. That just shows the, budgets and the actual expenditures, for the actual expenditures for 2021, 2022, and the budget for 2023, and the expenditures until beginning of this month, October 3rd. and, I mean, I'm not familiar with the town's accounting system by any means. It's clearly different than the states, but so in the left-hand column are the different, budget line items, wages, benefits, education, transportation, advertising, printing, office supplies, and so those, if you look at, our budget has a history of us putting money in for a budget, and oftentimes not spending it. And I think, I don't know, you know, this is really the first year where the whole board's been involved in developing the budget. I had suggested to Sarah that we do so, because I just thought it would be a better budget if everybody was involved in it. And she readily agreed. But I think you can perpetuate sort of past mistakes by just rolling over the same budget figures from year to year. And so I thought it'd be useful to mostly just focus on what we spent to date in 2023 and come up with a budget proposal to submit to the town manager and on that basis. And that's what's on the second page, the 2024 planning board budget request draft. And I put this together just again as a discussion draft, nothing more. And on the left-hand side of the page, the same line item, budget line items as in the town's budget, or budget for the figures that the table that we got from Lorna and Nick Poole. Except that all I did was I projected out to 12 months. So we have 9 months, added another 25% to it. That's all I did, nothing miraculous about that. And then on the right-hand side of the table, I offered up some suggestions for increases in some items, largely increases. They're all based, for the most part, on inflation. And the sources that I relied on are what it indicated in the far right column and at the bottom of the page under the explanatory notes. So for example, for wages, and this is for Caitlin, our secretary's wages, I used a labor inflation rate of 4.7%, which comes from the Bureau of Labor Standards. And that's actually I was surprised that I was able to find one specific for local government, nationwide, of course, not for Maine, but and then benefits. That is an exception. That's based on the same percentage of wages as was used in the past. Normally that doesn't change from year to year.
And that's Social Security, Medicare, that's not insurance, health insurance, none of that, is it? Or-
It probably does include all that, and
Oh, okay.
So that would result in a total personnel budget line item of a little over 2,700, up from about 2,600. Education, I'm suggesting a reduction.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt really quick?
Sure, Caitlin.
I'm actually joining in person tonight. I don't receive any benefits as a part-time employee, so I don't know if that's something that you're factoring in. I may have misunderstood.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I thought, you get Social Security and Medicare, are there any other?
So I wonder what, so in, there was a, I mean, it's a pittance, but, so far this year, according to the, first table that we got from the town office, there was an expenditure of $147.50 on benefits. And unfortunately, I don't know the, the background on this stuff, so I'm not gonna be able to answer people's questions, but if they're, we can always get those
Yeah.
answers.
Although, Caitlin, I guess just answered the part of, Medicare and. Social Security, but it doesn't include anything other than that.
Oh, okay, good point, okay, yeah, yeah.
I don't think there's anything to worry about, $70 difference.
Yeah, no, we're not talking, well, to put our budget in perspective of the overall town budget, we're small potatoes,
Oh, yeah.
right? So,
Okay,
but still, I feel an obligation to do a reasonably good job in what we, recommend.
Right, we have to justify the figures,
We do.
yeah.
So I'd say still leave that 193 just the way it is.
When it comes down to wages, that's something that selectmen end up approving or designating. We don't determine the secretary's actual wages.
No, we don't. Yeah, no, that's not our decision at all.
Could we, instead of doing 193, would you go 200 to round it off, or are we gonna be this minute? I don't think they would want the,
I don't think it really matters.
I'm sorry?
I don't think it really matters that much, $3. So
Well,
Yeah.
I'm inclined to follow your suggestion, Penny. I was interested to see though that, I mean, a lot of the figures in the, actual expenditures are down to the penny,
Well, that would be, but the budget.
but
The budget is.
yeah. Your point's well taken. Yeah, why don't we do that? So we'll use the usual rules of, rounding.
Be 200,
Yeah,
25 or something.
yeah.
and then, changes, education, I reduced that, last year. And not that it's a huge expense, but, we spent $1,000 on education. And, some of that, of course, is because Nick and you, Penny, are new and attended the MMA trainings. I don't know what that is, but I think it's like $150 or something like that.
I thought it was 75.
75, that might be, so that doesn't account for why we spent $1,000.
No, I saw that. And I thought,
Does Katie get, education funds?
Maybe we need to find out what that $1,000 was actually spent on.
Cause, we didn't go to a whole lot of education overall. And if it's literally only $75 a session or whatever, then that would, be like 15 sessions or something.
It's different if we're a member, and we are a member.
We are a member, yes, that's right, that's the difference, yeah. My thought was that we'll go through this tonight, get our questions out. If we need to get some answers, I can do that in the interim. And I think it would be appropriate for Sarah to be here when we actually make a decision about the budget. So I'll look into that. Transportation mileage. None of us have ever requested mileage. I don't know, I put in $60 just so it wasn't completely empty, but, if no one plans to request mileage for site visits, we can zero that out. So it's really up to you folks.
I don't plan on submitting any.
Yeah, it's more hassle than it's worth.
Volunteer job.
Okay,
We're driving this over.
what a bunch of easy people.
Now, if we took it out and somebody decided they were, even if we got a new member and they decided, if our budget says zero, are they out of luck?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. That line item wouldn't have any money in it.
Maybe next year.
I was gonna say, maybe we should keep the 60 in there, just, I mean, that's not a whole lot of money.
No, it's not.
And it would cover us or somebody if they decide to do it. But as of what I'm saying now, nobody plans to.
No, but I do remember when I went to go take the training, Mary did say something to me like, you know, we paid for it
Yeah, no,
and let us know the gas, you know.
right.
So they offered it, so if it's being offered to someone new, they might say, well, I thought you were gonna pay for my gas.
Why don't we leave $50 there as a holder, placeholder? Advertising, I put $200. We didn't spend anything this past year as a placeholder. I don't know if you know anything about that, Hans, but I assume that would be if we took out a newspaper ad to announce a public hearing or something of that nature.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think it'd be advisable to leave something there. Printing, you know, I increased by the consumer price index inflation rate of 3.7%. Supplies the same. And, you know, what we can do is, round those to 520, 550, and we can leave, office supplies, 5,060, I guess. So any major problems with the approach I've taken here, or, I mean, there's no rocket science to this, that's for sure.
Okay, I just want the education piece. The $1,000, we gotta get behind that figure more, but I'm just thinking on an ongoing basis for people who are presently have been, you know, members for a while. There are training sessions offered, or there used to be, training sessions offered down at the, Department of Environmental Protection, you know, what's been calling there when
Colin Clark.
would head up those classes and all that, and they were very useful, I thought, you know, for existing members as well to get.
Did you
get
actually
the
pay to
speed.
go to one of them?
Huh?
Did you, the town actually pay to go to one of them?
Oh, yeah, over the years, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah,
when we did it, everything was free.
Okay.
yeah, I'm pretty sure the town paid for it.
Maybe.
I think that's why that figure, there's some money there, you know. So. Yeah, but anyway, get behind the numbers. See what-
Yeah, I'll talk to Nick Poole.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone's been going to those classes in the past 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
They're very useful.
Uh,
I haven't gone to them quite a while, but still, I've gone to about 3 of them, boy, I learned a lot. Yeah.
Okay, one more item that Nick, had asked that, we discuss. And this is sort of separate from our, operating budget, if you will, and at the bottom of the second page, it's a planning board legal reserve account. I didn't even know this existed, but, apparently, and I don't know when this was set up, but, there's a legal reserve account that, is intended to pay for legal fees when somebody sues over one of our decisions. Why it's with our associated with the planning board versus the Board of Appeals isn't quite clear to me. Because the process is, in all our ordinance, well, except the subdivision ordinance, it goes directly to Superior Court, but I guess, like the shoreline zoning, somebody, if they take issue with our decision, say a denial, then they appeal to the Board of Appeals to contest that. And then if the Board of Appeals, upholds our decision, then the next, only then does the, applicant sue to the Superior Court and legal, and so in the cases that have gone to court in recent years, those have all been, what's been contested in our decision, it was their decision to uphold our decision. But be that as it may, Nick asked that we provide him with a recommendation. And in currently in this year, there's $12,000, and I guess there are expenditures being made from that, although he didn't have the figures handy. All related to the Jones shoreline zoning application case. Yes, Penny.
Question, this letter that Sarah sent to Philip Associate, would the funds to pay him come out of that reserve account?
They don't.
Okay.
There's a separate retainer contract and account for that retainer contract with Bernstein Shore, the law firm that he's with. And that's for use by all the different town boards, appeals board, select
So we
board.
don't have to put.
No, we don't. No, this is a separate reserve account. Like I said, I never
No,
even,
but I mean in here.
no, we don't.
So that's what I'm kind of wondering what this reserve account was probably, because in years past, we had to pay for what she's talking about.
We did, that's right.
And that's only been a recent change.
That's right. When Anthony Wilson was town manager, he made that change, or recommended that change.
So, it's still good to have it. I mean, I still want to have a reserve. I mean, every board needs a reserve. So continuing on, but I think that's more of where it came from. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right, Craig. And Anthony also implemented the, setting up a specific line item account and a contract, with a maximum dollar amount to be spent on legal services like we're requesting with Bernstein Shore with Bill Saucier. I think in part to avoid a situation that happened. I don't know when exactly it was when a former town manager exceeded that account and none of the boards could get legal advice because of it. So anyway, back to this legal reserve account, apparently that Jones case is still lingering. I didn't know it was, that this is the one that from down in Sandy Cove. I think Pete, you were on the board at that time, Nick, you and, but yeah, so apparently that's still bubbling along.
Is that Jack Sutton's?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's still, like, really?
Yeah. I thought so too. I thought the suit against the town had been resolved, but the two neighbors were still going at each other's throats.
It's gonna be shown on Dateline sometime.
So anyway, all I did was increase it by the inflation rate. This is interesting to me though, and this is from, again, the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. The inflation rate in the last year for legal services, 12.4%.
Who's making the money?
Yeah. You're in the wrong business, Craig.
So you make that 13.5?
So
Yep.
we kind of go with that figure then, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a major increase and I think one thing to keep in mind is if the town, because of the decision that we made, is sued and it's a major and it goes to the Superior Court and maybe even to the state Supreme Court as has happened in the past. You know, obviously 13,500 isn't gonna cover it, but it should be enough to get us from one fiscal year to the next when something more specific to the need can be derived, not by probably us, but, you know, consultation between the select board and town attorneys.
Right, and where everything, like you said, now is all bubbled into one account, all the boards. If we ever had a situation where our town man, spent exceeded that money, we would have a reserve, so if anything ever happened with us, we
Yeah,
could probably fall back on that.
that might be, I'm not entirely positive of that, Nick, but. So, so just to recap, in addition to the rounding we talked about, I'll find out what's, the story is behind the $1,000 of spending on education. And then we'll take this up again at the next meeting and we can make a decision about it at that point. That sound good?
I got a question for Hans. When we get an application, I got, the application for Richards and Frame. Quarter of an inch thick. Does that come under printing or does it come under supplies? And should we be requiring, I think the ordinance, maybe not, saying it called for, and it may not be in there, 7 copies or something like that.
Oh, that's a commercial development review one.
Is that one? Okay, so the question goes back to, it's kind of hard to believe we only spend $400 or something a year on printing. If, I don't know, but how does that money come out?
I'm sure these come out of office supplies, and I looked at that number too, and I'm curious how Nick assigns it, because I've just recently learned our printer, okay? This is a good example. What Doug sent today, this last picture of the house, front page is color,
Yeah,
the rest of it's black and white. Well, if I want you to see it in color, well, I have to do a color copy. Every page included in this counts as a color copy, even though it's just black and white.
yeah.
We get billed higher for color copies,
Right.
and we have a limited amount that's free, and then we pay. So we're paying a lot of money for color copies, and we're not really using color. Just because one page within that document.
That's interesting, and even my cheapo, copier at home distinguishes between color and,
It's
Black
the
and white.
way, it's a leased machine, that's the way they have it programmed. So once you hit color, even the black and white, it counts as a. color
even when
copy.
it's using just black ink.
Well,
You know,
let's change that
Remember
contract.
Anthony Brown saying something about color. So should we increase the printing from 518 to 750?
I think our printing is for like the shoreline zone maps. That's the only thing we have that's printed. Everything else is office supply.
Oh,
We've done
that's-
office
Yeah.
supply printing.
And you'll notice that there's quite a bit of money spent on it.
We have plenty of, we have 5,000.
Yeah. I mean, there, if you see something, between now and the next meeting, we can obviously, reevaluate. Okay, thank you. And the last item I had, was I just wanted to make sure everybody, is aware of this and if you haven't seen it on your email, you look for it. Sarah sent out an email about some required training that we all need to do. I don't know if you saw it. Training, I don't know, small T training. It's online training about the Freedom of Access Act, or the state version of the Freedom of Information Law.
It's different. Federal is.
Yeah, federal is different than the state.
State is freedom of access.
Yes, right. Yeah, I frankly call almost everything the Freedom of Information Act, but
Yeah, me too.
what it is, embedded in the email are several links, and one of them is to the online training, which is nothing more than having to read, a document. I don't know how many pages it is. It's not short, it's not long. I haven't done it. I just looked at it, and then, we have to each submit a certification form that we've done it to Mary, Vogel. So I only mentioned that so in case you haven't seen
Do it
it.
online as well.
Yeah, you can do it
I
online.
did-
as well.
I did it online. and sent
Oh, you
it.
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so-
So I just wanted, and Pete, for some reason, it accidentally didn't go to you, and so I forwarded it to you.
Yeah, and I've asked Mary 3 or 4 times, changing my email address and all that, and then Nick changed it one time about 3 or 4 months ago, apparently. It's not going through.
Oh, did you get, so for example, did you get, am I using the right email address for you?
You have to be, but as far as, and I didn't get that, Yeah,
Well, in this case,
You
the
got
only
one.
reason I knew you didn't get it was because your name wasn't on the address list.
Oh, then that has to be changed.
Yes. It was just a simple oversight on,
Right.
I think on Sarah's part, but
Yeah.
it wasn't anything.
But I didn't get any attach, I didn't read it that quickly. Did you include in that email, did you include the links?
I just forwarded Sarah's and in Sarah's is the links.
Oh, it's there,
Yeah,
summary?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't read her. Sorry.
Okay, well, I just mentioned it so everybody's aware of it.
Alright.
Yes, Penny.
Well,
Mary did say that she'd like us to do it ASAP.
Right, right. And, I follow up with her and so. Oh, this is immaterial, never mind, forget it.
So that was the 18th, right? That would be that one right there.
I believe so, yes. And that's all I had, there, unless anybody else has anything, I think. Well, Hans, you're looking like maybe you do.
You said you want, I got something, I need help with an interpretation here. Minimum lot size ordinance, page 8. Residential use. Will not be a long conversation. Right. I think it's the same question.
Page 8, you said?
Page 8, residential use, section 5B. If you could,
Which manual?
Minimum lot size ordinance?
so section C,
Mm-hmm.
you just read through that and try to make it make sense in your head and explain it to me.
5C, you're saying?
Yes, 5B, 1C.
Yeah.
Page 8.
Penny, if go into the town office sometime and have them give you a 3-ring binder for your ordinances.
Yeah, I've got one, yeah. You're on page 8,
Correct.
5,
No.
B.
B, gotcha. Thank you, George, I really that. I'm on the budget committee too, so I got this huge thing, and I said, great, I'll put all these ordinances in it. So they should get this time.
So where are we? Page 8.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular we should be focusing on?
Well, in C, it describes, these are the criteria for a conforming lot.
Mm-hmm.
And halfway down the paragraph of C, it gets into, that a circle having a radius of 75 feet can be inscribed within the lot boundary lines beyond the 300, 100 setback limits. What is a 300?
Oh.
I understand what the 100 setback is, but what's the 300?
Huh.
No, it's done.
And what's the date of the ordinance you're looking
2010.
at? Okay. Then he's got one that doesn't match.
2010.
Maybe it's.
No, 32,000.
Maybe it's just been reformatted.
Is there a page 8?
Residential.
Yeah, that's my page 9, yeah. I don't have C, he's talking about 5. Yeah, I don't have it. You have C?
You are talking about 5C, okay?
One. This is the formatted, I was gonna be, something else.
Again.
I don't think that's it. Maybe. What we're talking about. That's two, only one. The format of this.
Not helpful.
If I went to, you say we're on page 8. I get to page 8, I'm on residential.
That's what I'm looking at too.
I have no idea what's that.
I'm not confused. I got my ordinance back home. I don't have it with me. No problem.
You wanna look at this? or-
Yeah, this page 9.
You don't wanna clutter your mind with the details.
So.
So I
Yeah,
have no idea in the world what that 300. I don't know what that means or where it comes from. I'm not aware of any 300-foot
Carryover from.
setback, or if it's a type, something that was left in that should have been eliminated, or what it is.
From a previous version.
I mean, I honestly, I just don't know myself. I can't.
So basically, the dimensional requirements for the lot is what they're talking about. If you cannot get 200 feet of road frontage, there's a provision that if you can make this 75-foot circle, right, beyond 100 feet from the road, it's allowable. That's what I'm reading between the lines. But we have a situation where this is someone subdividing a lot under these standards. So based on this confusion, you kind of have to allow it as it's interpreted.
But what's the 300? How's the 300?
That's the question.
Residential.
Is it a carryover from a commercial zone that, or ordinance that this was pulled out of or something?
Well, I actually flipped over to the and section, which is D on page 10, and I didn't see anything comparable.
No, it doesn't.
So we just strike through the 300 part and go with the 100.
George, Penny being the new person, has a copy of the ordinance that they gave her, and the 300 feet is not shown.
yeah, 300 is not shown on mine either.
And what's the date of yours?
2010.
Does it have a reference to 75-foot circle?
It does have a reference.
Says have, yeah, have boundary line circle, form factor within which 75 foot radius circle can be inscribed.
Yeah, first, I'm wondering if somebody at the office kind of caught it,
Yeah, this is
or whether we caught it at one time as the planning board.
I don't know.
No, yeah, it looks like they just cut it out right here, because there's, the paragraph isn't even formatted properly.
So I should ask them for no minimum.
No.
We should ask them to throw ours away, no, I don't know legally what happened, but Penny and Nick have
Yeah,
the correct version, I guess.
So they're corrected it.
Yeah, so it's just the 100-foot setback.
Okay. That's what I thought, and I just wanted to put it out here, so. If it's ever discussion in the future, we understand that there's no.
So the rest, so besides, Penny and Nick, the rest of us need to get a new correct version of the, minimum lot size order.
Well, there's that, and there's also setbacks that are different from this one. I'm curious now that, accessory structure setbacks, what it says. In the net. We were page 6, the greater distance upon 25 feet horizontal between post and.
I put 6 isn't even your page 6, I don't think.
This one's correct. But the version online. So they can- Yeah. And what? And you can't.
And structure, and structure. And the greater, and just continues on and then.
It's not a sensical sentence. So, George, on your page 6.
Page 6.
Page 6, 2A.
Mhm. And.
Does your page 6 say boundary line setback dimensions?
Yes,
And so you're saying
that and that's just.
10 feet minimum? Horizontal distance between any lot boundary line and the point of the structure, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, do you have and the comma after that?
Uh-huh.
That's what he's talking about.
Anyhow. We solved my. Question of the day. 300.
I don't, to be honest with you, I mean, this is 2010, long before I was ever on the board. I don't know, were you on the board then, Rich?
2010?
Yeah.
I don't think so because, I retired in 2010 and I didn't get on the planning board probably till a year later.
Okay. I don't know, when there've been changes made. I, wasn't even sure that the planning board, did that. It was, I think Gary Fuller took care of, was in charge of that. But I may be wrong about that.
Well, I'm just curious, does this ordinance fall under planning board review or select board review? Or who,
In terms of potential changes,
yeah,
That's go through the same reviews we'll do with all of them, right?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Unless it's grammatical and grammar, I don't think.
We can't change the code about a whole of people. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
but who's responsible for the review?
The ordinance that, unlike in the shoreline zoning ordinance where it kind of tells you who does what when you make changes to the ordinance, this one doesn't. Now it may be that in state law, there's something. In the minimum lot size, the state minimum lot size law. But I'm not familiar with that so I can't answer your question myself.
Okay. All I got.
So, so how do you think, the issue here is now who's got control over updating,
Well, it's already updated.
or making changes, whatever.
It already has been. We just need the new one.
I mean, it's a good question because as we move forward with, when KV cog is ultimately ready to start working with us. I mean, one of the ordinances they're gonna be working with us on is this minimum lot size ordinance. In fact, it may be the only ordinance that needs any changes I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot to be commended about working collaboratively all together, you know, Hans and the board. I mean, ultimately, it has to go through the same process, just like any other ordinance does, you know, it eventually it has to go to the, I mean, select board, go ahead, they even go to public hearing, but,
Yeah, so,
So we're gonna be working on this anyways.
yeah, we are. So,
That's why I say we'll punt it down the road for now.
yeah, and just keep a note of things that need to be
Make a
corrected,
list, so when
Yeah.
it's time that we can.
do it all at once.
okay,
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn. I've been the busiest one.
Second, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie.
Oh,
I can't second
I'll
that.
second it. Or I'll give you.
Whatever. I don't think we'll be legally challenged over that one.
Hans,
Yes.
could I have a copy of